The flash of the cameras was blinding. Dr. Alistair Finch, my former professor and mentor, stood at a podium at the Royal Museum, unveiling the find of the century, a perfectly preserved obsidian ceremonial dagger from a lost Amazonian tribe. He was being hailed as a genius, a modern-day Indiana Jones. The dagger was my discovery. The location, the research, the translation of the glyphs, it was all my work. He had stolen it, taken my name off the expedition report, and published it as his own, effectively ending my career before it had even begun. He had called me a hysterical, overly imaginative student when I protested. I watched the press conference on my laptop from the dusty tent of a new dig site in another country, and I smiled. He thought he had stolen a priceless treasure. He had no idea the dagger was a fake, a brilliant forgery I had created. And he certainly didn't know that the curse described in the glyphs, a curse of terrifying, vivid nightmares for anyone who falsely claimed its ownership, was not an ancient myth. It was a sophisticated, psychoactive compound I had secretly baked into the handle. I had idolized Professor Finch. He was the leading figure in pre-Columbian studies. I dedicated 5 years of my life to his tutelage, culminating in my PhD research on a little-known tribe rumored to have vanished from the Amazon. My research led me to the location of a hidden temple. It was supposed to be our joint expedition, a shared discovery. In the heart of the temple, we found it, a ceremonial chamber. But the main altar was empty, save for a single leather-bound journal left by a 19th century explorer. The journal described the real dagger and its legendary curse, but also noted that the tribe's priests would often create identical decoy daggers for certain rituals. These decoys were treated with a powerful hallucinogenic compound derived from a rare jungle fungus, designed to induce visions or nightmares in unworthy supplicants. The real dagger was nowhere to be found, but the recipe for the hallucinogen was detailed perfectly in the journal. Finch, in his arrogance, dismissed it as nonsense. I saw an opportunity. That night, while he slept, I took a common obsidian knife from our supplies, and using the explorer's notes, crafted a perfect replica. I meticulously carved the glyphs, and, most importantly, treated the porous wooden handle with a concentrated, slow-release version of the psychoactive compound I had synthesized from the local fungi. It was harmless to the touch, but prolonged skin contact, like holding it for a press conference, would allow the compound to be absorbed, triggering its effects hours later. The next morning, I discovered my beautiful, cursed forgery near the temple's exit. Finch's greed was immediate and absolute. He saw the dagger, and his path to eternal fame was clear. He took the dagger, flew back to London, and erased me from the story. He announced his solo discovery, and got me blacklisted from the academic community for daring to challenge his narrative. Which brings us back to his moment of triumph. He held the dagger aloft for the cameras, his hand gripping the treated handle for over an hour. The first reports came 3 days later. A small article in a gossip column mentioned that the celebrated Dr. Finch had been admitted to a private clinic for extreme exhaustion. Then the leaks started. Nurses spoke of a man who wouldn't sleep, who screamed in the night about shadows with obsidian eyes and jungle whispers. He was plagued by unrelenting, terrifying nightmares, the very ones described in the glyphs on the dagger he claimed. He was losing his mind. His colleagues called it a psychological breakdown from the stress of his great discovery. But I knew the truth. I waited another week. Then I sent a single, anonymous package to the head of the museum's acquisitions department. Inside was the 19th century explorer's journal, a detailed chemical analysis of the hallucinogenic compound, and a series of high-resolution photographs of the real ceremonial chamber, showing the empty altar. Photographs I had taken before I planted my fake. The museum launched an immediate secret investigation. They tested the dagger, they found the hallucinogenic compound, they found microscopic traces of modern carving tools. It was a fake, a brilliant, undeniable fake. Finch was not just a fraud, he was a global laughingstock who had been outsmarted by a hysterical student. His career was over. He was a broken man, left with nothing but his own mind, which had now become his personal torture chamber. A month later, I published my own findings. Not about the dagger, but about the real treasure of the temple, its complex system of astronomy and mathematics, a discovery far more valuable than any physical artifact. I didn't need a cursed dagger to make my name. I had my knowledge. He had stolen an object, believing it held power. I had kept the real power all along. The truth.